we're going to work with all of the organs. All the organs in the lung circuit are the lungs, the colon, the rectum, and the pons and brainstem. And we're going to work with all of those. And in the newsletter, I said we would work a lot with the colon, because I wanted to start with the grounded energies first, and each webinars we go through have the emphasis working up through the different organs. And I just wasn't sure about the rectum, because there's a strong kundalini to it, and it is so connected with the sacrum and the nervous system. I didn't know where to place it, as it seemed to be a combination of the sexual energies, which is in a way is lower than the hara. It's more grounded, it's more earth than the hara, it's lower down. But it also seemed to be the intellect and higher energies, because there's such a kundalini and it connects directly to the brainstem. But over the last few days working with it, the sexual qualities of the rectum and the more grounded qualities. There is the kundalini, which is very flighty and higher energies to it. But also what is coming through is a deep groundedness, which makes the kundalini stronger. It adds more physicality to it and strength to the kundalini. And I think I'm going to work with that as the earth. So I think we will be working with the colon, but I think I'm probably, as we will see as we go through the webinar, I think we're more going to be clearing the karma of the rectum. And it feels like there's some kind of initiation here to be had. And in the same way, you know, I didn't know when we started, but when we started working with the clitoris, that has been shown in the anatomy books, or portrayed as this very small thing, and it's kind of undermined female sexuality by portraying it like that, and also men's sexuality as well, because you cannot do one without the other. And working with the cranial fluids in the free cranial webinars, how it's portrayed in the books, to me, is just absolutely not true. It just can't work like that, and people just don't seem to be able to see it, or I've gone nutty, one of the two. But it hides something. When you come to an image of how it could work, or in my opinion how it does work, suddenly there's a whole initiation there, and you can connect to the higher energies much easier. And I think there's also an initiation from the rectum. And I think it's been covered or hidden in that this area is dirty, or also what I mentioned, I don't know if everyone got it, the email, when how it has been used in the church for sodomy, based for having sex with young children, male on male sex in the churches, in the monasteries, in words aren't even coming to my mind at the minute, but in all of these different places, I think it's created a trauma in this area. And even though that is more in the male orbit, I think it always affects both. And what I get, this will be very different, I think, for men and women. But we'll be working with the lungs and colon first, and then we'll be dropping into the rectum. And as it comes onto the center line, there's this kundalini that goes off. And we'll work with that for a while. And then we'll start grounding it. And after a while, it starts connecting with the other sexual organs that we've already worked with in the pelvis, the penis, vagina, the clitoris, the erectile tissue of the penis, the urethra, the ovaries, the testes, the uterus, the prostate, all of these organs it starts connecting with and is part of that whole area. But it strongly connects with the penis and, I guess, vagina as an energy. And it was really helpful, all of the different messages I got from people, because I didn't know how people experienced it. And a lot of people experience it as a sensual energy in the rectum, and in lots of different ways, and it was really useful to get that information. And I remember working with this, I don't know how long ago this would be, about 25 years ago now, in India, and kind of working energy points to clear the, well, it was for different areas, but one of them was the rectum. And for myself, I started thinking that I had been abused as a young child and couldn't remember it, because it was so strong, the feeling of not just having the rectum in that area, but a penis. And I thought, have I been abused and those memories, I just can't remember them? Or is this from a past life? Or is this just there from the earth's history of the monasteries, of the church, of male and on male sexuality? And working with that this week, that started coming up very strongly again. And I don't think it is any of those. I think what I am feeling, because it is so vivid, is that between those two circuits, between the lung circuit and the blue circuit, where we have the penis, vagina, the two sexual organs are very connected. And I think that is part of the initiation, that to properly release the energies in the rectum, we also have to work with the energies of the vagina and penis. That's my thought on this, and I don't know what this will be like for the women. We will just have to find out. And in a way it is covered, because I think for the men, at least for the men anyway, because there's this fear, oh, that means I'm homosexual. If I enjoy that experience, that means I'm homosexual or have been abused. And I also think the whole karma, because this whole bit about sodomy in churches and in monasteries and in private or public schools, whatever they call them, and maybe within governments, it's all very much hidden. You know, the sex trade is much more open, but in a way, the paedophilia on little boys seems to be much more hidden. And I think it is also pressing up that karma is somehow covering that initiation and the dark feeling about that, or our feelings of shame in that area. So I think there's a lot of global karma here, and karma in the ether, and maybe personal karma for people, or karma in their past lives or their ancestry. And just that normally I can speak very easy and the words just come to me. Just talking about this, I can feel the pressure of just talking about it, and the words don't just flow. So my guess is there's just a lot of karma there. This whole karmic, I guess for men and maybe for women as well, this karmic of history of buggery basically is a way of submission. It's a way, like you're bending over for somebody. It's a sign of submission, or being the words. I can't get the words today for some reason. When that's also when that is being forced upon you, and I think when that may be in us as a race from what has happened in the churches, what has happened to little boys, what has happened in schools, for time immemorial, really. And I think it can be done energetically as well, that when people are overpowering you. And I think there's a sense of, I can't get the words today for some reason. I think we're really hitting against some karma, because I just can't, the words normally come through, they're normally there, but it's not happening today. On a global level, for some people it's all right if they're happy with vaccines and they're happy with lockdown, but it's happening on a global level where people feeling they're having their rights taken away and feeling they're forced into a behavior that they don't want to be in or have done to them. There's a real, and I'm listening to it in session after session, of people feeling disempowered because they're being pushed into a position that they want nothing to do with. Kind of subversion by a bigger power, and this feeling of you're bending over for somebody. And people, I think, not everyone, but a lot of people are saying, no, I don't want that. I'm not going to bend over. And I think it happens between people just on a intellectual level or a personal level, when someone overpowers the other person. It knocks you out of this center, and this whole bit, I feel like there's this feeling of I'm sitting into myself. And I think a charge in that area can be when you've been overpowered, or you've been forced to do something you haven't wanted to do. And it takes you out of that seat. And I think the act of male rape is part of that, taking people out of that, out of their seat, putting a charge into that seat that is very hard to come to terms with. And you know, it's happened a lot to boys and men, but also there's the mothers of those boys who are being sent to those schools or to prison or in the army or wherever, or the church, wherever it's happening to them, or the wives of the men that is happened to, or to women in general where they've become subservient, like Afghanistan. At the women at the minute are in the process of becoming subservient again, and a lot of women find their way of how to still be powerful in that situation. But I think I've been grappling with what we're dealing with today, and I think it's that, and I think it's timely, and I think that's what's happening in Afghanistan with the vaccines, with the lockdowns. It's subversion, it's overpowering by a dominant force, and you have little able to do about it. Where I go for a walk at the minute, they're putting HS2, the railway, right through it that no one wants. They've got all these dog vans. You walk on their land, you get our land, you get attacked by a dog. There's, you know, people, the big bouncers there, you get your arms stuck behind you, and there's dogs and everything. It's like, seems like it's on a global level, and I think it's a bit like we're taking it in the rear. And there's, on one level, there's nothing you can do about it, and on another level, you can use it to clear. The words are coming back now. I know what we're dealing with. You can deal with that internally. You can use that to clear every past experience where you've been overpowered as a woman or a weaker person, or sexually, or for men in male rape, or children in male rape. That is based into our society and with religion. And I think parliaments are part of this, and in the public schools, it's bred into public schools, and they become the politicians. And in male institutions and in the church, it's kind of bred into our society, this dominant force overpowering other people. And I think the sexual part of it becomes especially hard to work out within ourselves. And even if that hasn't happened to you, it's still in the psyche, and it's still in people. You know, the amount of abuse in Ireland, in the orphanages, and just in the churches, and in America, it's I think a fundamental part of society that is brushed under the carpet, and people are so ashamed that they don't speak about it. So I think it affects everyone to one level or another. And maybe, you know, if someone's overpowering you and they're bigger, or they've got a weapon, or they're part of an army, or they've got a dog, or they're a policeman, or it's from the religion, or it's from the government making up rules. Very hard to know how to do that. But I think this is the karma of the rectum. And I think this act of buggery is impaling that on people, is pushing that is done as rape. But I get the impression that the healing of that is the vagina and penis and rectum coming together as a healing energy. That is my guess. And I had that from my mother. I was just continually beaten and told I was wrong and told I was paranoid, that I was mad. As a child, I got that in a physical beatings and all sorts of ways, kind of knocked out of my center. And I think that is what's happened. I'm really pleased that I've found out what's going on today. It's just been been hardly able to move today, and now I've suddenly found out what the karma of it is. And I think that is what we're working to within ourselves. It doesn't matter what's happened to us or the karma of the earth. I think in this particular meditation we can heal that. So we're going to go into a second part of that.